Hey everyone, welcome to MLSsoccer.com's preview of the USA-Germany friendly. I'm Greg Lawless alongside Simon Borg, aka @SimonBorg or @Gagens. And Simon, it's a big game coming up for the US, a big friendly against Germany, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday, June 2nd. The game is at RFK Stadium. You can watch it on ESPN2. What is the importance of this game, considering they just came off that loss midweek against Belgium? Now they have another big one. This is a big one for them.
In and of itself, they're going to tell you it's not important because it's a friendly. But bottom line is the U.S. is on the verge of 3 big World Cup qualifiers that will likely determine whether or not they qualify to Brazil, how they do in this stretch. So they need to come out of this feeling good about themselves. Now, Jurgen Klinsmann going up in this centennial match, by the way, for U.S. soccer. So a big celebration, a big deal around that. But Klinsmann going up against the country he managed, his nation, and against his former protege, Joachim Low. So there's a lot of pride at stake for Jurgen Klinsmann, but I don't think he can let that get in the way of what the real mission is here for the U.S.
Well, this will be the first time Jurgen Klinsmann's ever coached against his own country. The last time the USA and Germany met, 2006, it was a loss for the U.S., 4-1 in Germany. And of course, before that, in 2002, the famous round of 16 match between the U.S. and Germany in the Japan and Korea World Cup. Now, the U.S. national team lost to Belgium midweek, 4-2. It was not a good performance by any estimate that anybody would have in this one. And coming out of it, though, Jurgen Klinsmann and some of the players talked about how it was important to play these games against these good teams, maybe more important than playing against some of the smaller countries in CONCACAF.
I think we saw a lot of things that we wanted to see, and we take it the way it is. You know, this is why we want to play teams like Belgium, like Germany, like Russia or Italy, because there's so much that you can read from those games. There's so much you can see, and obviously you want to win them. When you lose them, then it's not such a big pleasure, but I'd rather play Belgium 10 more times than El Salvador the 100th time, because that's what where you learn.
These are the games that challenge you, and they put you in uncomfortable situations that you have to figure out, that nobody can teach you. You have to figure them out for yourself, and you can play a team that you end up thrashing 4 or 5-0, but that doesn't help you out in the end, because those aren't the teams that ultimately you have to play in order to qualify for World Cup. So we need to be put under pressure, figure out game situations, so that when we do get down to Kingston, when we get to Seattle and Salt Lake, those are all things that we'll learn from.
You have to play against the best players. There's a lot of players on their team that play in some of the biggest clubs in Europe. You got to push yourself to see what that high level is, and to make sure that when you play in big games, you'll be ready for them, and you'll be used to playing against big teams and good players. And it's good for us as a team to work on some things, and we're able to learn from the errors that we made tonight and correct those for the next game.
Well, some interesting stuff there from everybody talking about, in particular, El Salvador. It seems like El Salvador got smacked around by everyone. The truth is, though, it's against CONCACAF that the U.S. has to compete. So going up against Germany is great in a friendly, and being able to beat the big nations, the traditional powerhouses, is great. But the U.S. needs to beat the CONCACAF nations if they're going to make it into the World Cup.
Greg, to me, there's a time and place for friendlies like the ones against Belgium and Germany. Maybe at the end of the year, those November friendlies that, they sometimes go on the road for, the ones just before a World Cup, in the lead up to a World Cup. That's when you play those games. I think the U.S. would have been better off playing a style of against a team with a style similar to some of these teams they're about to face. Jamaica, Costa Rica, Honduras, and they're not achieving it. And I think it can backfire on them, because Belgium and Germany, both high-quality opposition, that could really crush their confidence, and their first game is on the road in Jamaica. They lost the last time they were there.
Well, you've talked about confidence twice now. We're going to get to more of that in a second. But first, let's find out a little bit more about this powerful German team from Matt Doyle and Dan Hayek in San Francisco.
Thanks, guys. Matt, we watched the Germany-Ecuador game and saw Mr. Lukas Podolski score his 45th and 46th goals for Germany. Jurgen Klinsmann has 47. So one of the storylines here is, who does Mr. Klinsmann trust to stop Podolski from tying him or even passing him on that list?
it can't just be one guy. It can't be the one guy he trusts. It has to be a team effort. The U.S. has to close down space in groups better than they did against the Belgians, especially in that second half. And especially because Podolski is so good when the game opens up and gets easy, for lack of a better word. When he struggles is when the game becomes a little more compact, as we've seen for his club teams. When it's wide open, when he has room to operate, he's probably scored 42 of those 46 goals for Germany.
Whereas Lucas Podolski has played 109 times for this Germany team. A young kid kind of just breaking onto the scene now is Julian Draxler. He's only 19 years old. I feel like we've been hearing about him forever because he's been playing for the German youth teams. Now he's kind of getting embedded into the regular setup. This is a guy that's a playmaker. He started his career out wide. Now he's playing more centrally. What do you look for from him?
Well, he's kind of the modern playmaker, as you and I discussed on Between the Lines. He's a number 10, but not in the way we think about it in Riquelme's sense, or a Valderrama sense, certainly. He's more in the Mesut Ozil sense. He drifts in and out. He could turn up on the flank. He could turn up just underneath the strikers, or he can even stretch the field if he gets the right kind of flick on or the right kind of service. So you have to track him, again, as a team. German, if you isolate yourself on an island and you defend 1 versus 1, Germany's going to rip you apart. They're so good at combination play. Draxler, he's just very gifted at reading the game and understanding where those triangles are going to present themselves.
All right, well, let's kick it back to the guys in New York.
All right, thanks, guys. Good stuff. Germany, of course, a very powerful team. How can the U.S. beat them? Well, Simon and I put together 3 points of emphasis that we think Jurgen Klinsmann and the U.S. squad should consider as they head into this game. Those 3 points: confidence, a 5-man midfield, and preservation. Let's start with confidence, Simon. Now, you've mentioned it twice already in the show. What's so important about this in this one?
Well, I'll take 2 players, for example, Greg. Omar Gonzalez and Sasha Kljestan, I can't believe are coming out of that Belgium game feeling too good about themselves or what they contributed. And I think that you need to get the confidence back up. Both of them had mistakes in key areas and probably are feeling down about what they can do for the U.S. So you make sure against Germany that they have the right partners and they're supported by the right setup around them. And specifically, I mean tactics. So for Omar Gonzalez, put a 5-man midfield in front of him and get him the right partner that he's going to play with against Jamaica. And I believe that should be Matt Besler. But it starts with that 5-man midfield.
But if you put a 5-man midfield out there, it's going to be a very defensive setup. This is not what Jurgen Klinsmann has talked about. It's not the proactive soccer that he's talked about ever since he's come in. That's more of a sit back, maybe try and counter. You're talking about protecting, whether it's Besler or whoever it is, and Gonzalez in there. But how does that translate into attacking if you have those 5?
Well, in my opinion, the 5 are going to be Michael Bradley, who's back with the team, joining them in D.C. for this match, together with Jermaine Jones and Stuart Holden in the central midfield.
Stuart Holden in already.
In the starting lineup. Wow. And then you have Kljestan and Zusi out wide. And I believe Kljestan and Zusi can be your playmakers from wide positions.
You've got a man out there. Somebody's losing out in this case. One of the forwards. Who's out?
It's Clint Dempsey. I think Clint Dempsey, I would go with the traditional forward like Josie Altidore, possibly Eddie Johnson if you want to rest Josie Altidore. I think Clint Dempsey, you can use the excuse that you're resting him. Look, it's going to be an early afternoon kickoff. Humidity is going to be high. Temperature is going to be high. Don't exhaust your players looking ahead to this Jamaican game.
And that was the 3rd point of emphasis there, was preservation. It is going to be hot in Washington. It's expected to be in the mid-90s on Sunday afternoon. Along with Michael Bradley joining the team, also Fabian Johnson and Danny Williams. So Jurgen Klinsmann has a few more bodies to play with in this one. Get some people some rest ahead of the big qualifier in Jamaica on June 7th. The game between the U.S. and Germany is at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, June 2nd. You can watch it on ESPN2, and you can stay with MLSsoccer.com for all of the coverage. For Simon Borg, I'm Greg Lawless. Enjoy the game.